Well, some interesting history being made here in Houston and Toyota Center, and everybody with a story to tell, it seems. Too many people, far too many, on the roads tonight, and unfortunately still there because many streets, highways, roads, feeder roads, completely impassable. We have a list, a long, long list of road closures and high water. Too much to even mention. The message here is that practically every area,
and there goes our power.
Yep.
And you'll see us come back up. The lights will come up in a second when the generator kicks in. We've got a huge generator out in the garage, and this normally indicates that we took a direct lightning hit to our building, and we'll lose power like this for a little bit, and then the generator kicks in, and it takes a while for it to spool up. But when it does, we'll be back up. The good thing is that it immediately keeps us on the air, and then the lights come up. So you just see engineers running in here right now to try and recalibrate the light.
Frankly, I'm shocked that we even have these right here. So we have a little bit more than we thought. But in the meantime, Channel 2 Studios taking a hit from lightning. We have heard from our Office of Emergency Management that there have been many house fires and structural fires, presumably from all of the lightning strikes. And of course, first responders truly struggling to be able to respond to these fires because of the high water, and emergency vehicles having a tough time getting around, as is everybody else. But again, a lightning strike here at Channel 2, which is why we are practically in the dark, but happy to still be able to broadcast and at least get you the information that you need.
And something like 79,000 people in the city are without power right now. And it actually, I will say this, that is a fairly modest number.
We've had incredible video of floodwaters all over town, specifically dealing on the roadways with cars and people who were stuck. We got this incredible video that was shot by our photographer, Bobby Wiggins. Take a look. This is a driver from Montgomery County. That driver became stranded right there on Hammerly Boulevard near the Beltway South.
Now, that's a record driver who's going under the car there, trying to hook it up to his
look at this
chain so he can pull it out. As we continue to watch this, we are joined on the telephone now with the Harris County Emergency.
Yes, this is Jeff Lindner. Jeff, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Jeff, this is quite the situation here in the Houston area. I'm sure that you are all inundated with just how widespread this flooding is.
Yeah, and I want to run through some really critical information for y'all real quick.
Please do.
We are watching several watersheds that are out of their banks, and we likely have flooding in homes ongoing along portions of these watersheds. I want to cover them all. I'm just going to read through the list to get them out to everybody. The first one is South Mady Creek, the lower end of South Mady Creek around I-10 and Greenhouse Road. Rummel Creek, which is going to be a tributary of Buffalo Bayou on the west side of Beltway 8 south of I-10. All of Keegan's Bayou, for the first time ever that I've seen, all three of our flood gauges on Keegan's Bayou are over banks. Brickhouse Gully, that's going to be 290 in Antoine area. White Oak Bayou at Heights Boulevard that you've been showing, that area down there along I-10 and I-45 just north of downtown Houston. That channel is out of its banks, and it's impacting that low section of I-10 and portions of the I-45 area. That is going to go down and go into downtown Houston at the U of H downtown. And we have Buffalo Bayou at Milam, 5 feet over its banks in downtown Houston. That's where that White Oak Bayou is dumping in right there. Halls Bayou at Jensen. We may be impacting some homes there. And just recently, the upper portions of Brays Bayou. This is going to be at Beltway 8 downstream to Gessner. The bayou is over its banks. It's continuing to rise, and it is very likely that we have several structures impacted in that region. As a matter of fact, I've been looking back at some of the historical records here just quickly, and it looks like we may be at record levels on upper Brays Bayou right now. The other one just coming out is Armand Bayou. This is down in the Pasadena area. So that's a rundown of all the channels. We are keeping an eye on Buffalo. We are keeping an eye on Greens Bayou and on Cypress Creek up in the north side of the town. But the real hard-hit area has been from roughly Aldine back down to Sugarland. We don't have any hard estimates right now, just based on where the water levels are at and looking at some of the house flooding we've had previously in some of these areas. And I caution that every event is different, but we are probably up over a couple hundred homes easily at this point. One thing that is very concerning is the rainfall rates. We've had upwards of 8 inches in 3 hours, which is exceeding our 100-year rainfall rate, and that occurred on portions of Buffalo Bayou. the channel can handle the water. It's the internal drainage systems, the streets that can't handle that type of rainfall rate. And previously, when we've had rainfall of that magnitude, we've had some very significant structure flooding along the subdivisions that are along Buffalo Bayou there, south of I-10, the Villages area, and that area was impacted very hard tonight. So I am concerned that some house flooding did occur in there just from the rainfall rate and not from the channel itself. And that's probably playing out again across southwest Harris County and then down into Fort Bend County. In areas that are even newer, we're seeing some really bad problems with the amount of rain that's coming down. The area of concern right now is going to be downtown at Milam. That's where White Oak Bayou and Buffalo Bayou come together downtown. The majority
of 5 feet over, correct?
Yeah, it's about 5 feet over, maybe a little bit more. The majority of that flooding is from White Oak Bayou. White Oak Bayou drains very fast into downtown Houston, and so we're getting a lot of flow into the downtown area right now, which you're seeing on those TransStar cameras up on I-10 and I-45. If you go upstream, the next upstream gauge westward is Shepherd, and we do have the channel at Shepherd Drive just under its bank full elevation, so by about a foot. So there is water coming down Buffalo. For the most part, most structures along Buffalo are elevated a little bit out of the channel, but some of those homes that back up to the channel or in some of the little tributaries that run into Buffalo Bayou, they could be getting impacted right now with the water level in Buffalo.
Jeff, here comes the hard question. Is there any way that you can tell us when you think we're going to start to see some significant relief here?
The best I can give at this point, if we do not get any more rain, and I'm very concerned about what's coming up out of Fort Bend County, because that's easily dropping another 2 or 3 inches of rain in central Fort Bend County. If that gets up, and it appears to be heading toward those same areas that have been hit so hard, if it were to stop raining right now and the bayous were to start subsiding, we're probably looking at a good 4 to 5 hours for the water levels to crest and come down, to get back within the banks, and to get the water out of the streets, and that may be even a little bit fast itself. Come sunrise in the morning, unlike the floods maybe that we've become accustomed to recently when we've had our drought years where we've rained and we've had the street flooding and then an hour or two later it goes down. When we involve the bayous and the creeks, it takes more time for this water to come down. So the first thing is the creek and the bayou has to crest and then begin to fall, and then the streets can begin to drain out. And so it takes a longer period of time to clear the water out of the roadways and things like that. So the best advice I can give right now, and I really want people to listen to this, is to stay where you're at. If you're planning to go to work in the morning and so on and so forth, the best thing you can do right now is to stay at the location you're at. Do not try to navigate in this situation the roadways. Even if water is coming into your home, you are safer in your house than in a vehicle.
And Jeff, what about...
Britta, do you have anything?
You know, I completely agree with Jeff. You know, if you're in your house, obviously your natural reaction when you see 3 inches of water coming into your front door is you kind of start to panic. But the best thing you can do is stay inside, because you would much rather be in your home than in a vehicle. And, you know, Jeff, on my way in from the Sugar Land area around 1 o'clock in the morning, I saw about 8 to 10 cars stranded and flooded out by Oyster Creek Park on Highway 6, and the water level was just at the base of their doors. And now with that new redevelopment of heavy rainfall tracking right into Sugar Land, I'm concerned about the people that are already stranded in their cars, because if they have water already at the base of their car door and they have not gotten out of their vehicle yet, and they have an additional, you know, 2 to 3 inches, maybe 4 inches of rain heading their way, you know, that's going to cause a large concern with people being in a dangerous situation trapped in a vehicle.
Right, and people have to make the best judgment decision at the time in the situation they're in. Obviously, if you're in a vehicle and the water comes up and the vehicle begins to take on water or start to move, you need to get out of that vehicle. The last thing you want to do is be in a vehicle that is swept into a drainage ditch or a bayou and carried away, and you end up as a flash flood fatality. We have seen that in the Hill Country this weekend. We do not want that in our area. And so if you are stranded, and we do have people stranded in sections of the county on freeways where main lanes have been completely shut down. If the water does come up, you need to do whatever you need to do to get to the highest point possible, and you are going to have to make that decision.
And in that, Shirasta has been along I-45 ever so slowly, inching her way toward town. Anusha, you were stuck on I-45 at last check. Are you still there as you approach the downtown area?
That's right, we're close to the downtown area, but we are officially stuck. We haven't even moved an inch. We're at I-45 and I-10, and you can see that this long line of cars is only getting longer. Now, the rain has stopped, but we checked the radar, and it looks like there's more on the way. So this is definitely a very sticky situation here. People are getting very frustrated, leaving their cars, walking around, asking us, when this is going to end. And to be honest with you, I mean, we're just waiting like everybody else. So let's take a walk over here. We're actually going to talk to Deputy Nash with the Harris County Sheriff's Office. And Deputy Nash, tell us, what's the holdup here? Do you know?
Flooding and traffic hazards. People stalled out in the roadways. People trying to go the opposite direction of traffic. We're trying to prevent that. We're telling people, no, go back the other way. You're going to cause a wreck or something like that. You can see people getting out of their vehicles. That's causing it. But all the service lanes on the sides are all flooded and everything. So everybody's pretty much staying on the main lanes of the freeway, trying to get out of the flood area and everything. And I mean, that's pretty much it.
What's the concern at this point, the main concern for you all?
Try to keep everybody safe right now. I mean, off the roadways, I mean, that's pretty much it. We're trying to go to calls, but we can't go anywhere right now, so there's no sides where we can get on to go down to the roadway. We're trying to go further southbound to try to get off the service lanes from the flooding and to go back up north, but we can't. We're stuck right here right now. So.
Right, and we've seen people get out of their vehicles and start to walk around. I mean, it could get a little bit rowdy. Are you concerned about that?
Rowdy? No. I mean,
people
I don't believe it's... Well, I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, they know that. It's Houston's.
Right. What do you recommend for people at this point?
To stay in their vehicles right now until it clears. All they can do is wait it out right now.
Right. Okay, Deputy Nash, thank you so much. Thank you. And we've, of course, seen cars that have been stalled out, but we've also seen cars underwater, and that's a frightening sight. I mean, all you can do is really hope that whoever was driving that car was able to make it out. So you can imagine that there is a little bit of panic. But again, the rain has stopped, and we're just waiting it out like everybody else. So we're going to send things back to you, Bill and Dominique and Britta, back at the station. But we'll check back in with you a little later.
Okay, Anusha.
Great, Anusha. Thank you.
Lightning, meantime, has sparked several fires across town overnight. In Cypress, in particular, a firefighter fell through a roof while battling a fire.
We have Brian Shirley on the phone. He's with the Cyfair Volunteer Fire Department. Brian, thanks for joining us. Will you let us know how that firefighter's doing?
Right now, the firefighter's in stable condition at one of our local hospitals, and he's being treated for leg and back injuries.
What happened as he was battling this fire? I can only imagine how difficult it was for your crews to be able to get there.
It was very difficult for the crews. We did have to reroute some crews around some flooded streets and stuff tonight. But what seemed to happen was he was up on a rafter of the house fire, and he actually fell off that rafter. At the time of the incident, we did have heavy rain in the area and wind.
Well, Brian, we've been talking about the job that firefighters and police officers have been doing all night, and it's nothing short of heroic. And we really thank you very much for being there, number one, and for risking your lives to save property and lives. Thank you so much.
Thanks to viewer Roland Nunez for sending in this photo. Hundreds of Rockets fans still stranded inside Toyota Center after the game last night. In fact, I was just checking my Twitter feed, and at last count, somebody who's in there said there are about 500 people still remaining at Toyota Center, but apparently they're doing a really good job in there keeping the kids occupied. So way to go, folks at Toyota Center, for helping out the rest of us who came to cheer on the Rockets, who won tonight.
Yeah, and of course, the players couldn't go home either, so Dwight Howard was out there, kind of getting people in a good mood. Here's a picture from viewer Caroline Ellis. She took this shot of rising water in the hallways of an apartment complex off West Alabama Street. So, you know, when we were talking to Jeff Linder a while ago from Harris County Flood Control about the structures that are being impacted by this flooding from the bayous, this is what he was talking about.
It's incredible. And, of course, more lightning. This video sent in by Channel 2's Sophia Ojeda. And, again, it's just been one flash after another. It's just been incredible. And, you know, I hope, it looks like, Justin, I think we're due for a radar image and just to see where things stand now. But slowly but surely, I see a little more green than I do red and yellow.
Yeah, certainly. Slowly is, I think, probably the best way to put it, Dominique, because we are still seeing some difficulties out there, including what has actually been ramping up, and that's the storm system or the cell out towards Needville. We'll keep a close watch on that. I'll show you that one in a second because it does have a new severe thunderstorm warning on that. But I want to get you updated on a couple of things that have been coming in from the National Weather Service. Brays Bayou, you guys just mentioned that. It is about a half a foot from overtopping near the Harris Gully at the Med Center. We saw a picture sent to us from a viewer earlier, and I showed you that picture that it looked like it was probably about a foot, maybe 2 feet below where that feeder road was. And we said right now, flood officials say it's about a half a foot from overtopping the Harris Gully there at the Med Center. And also the Greenwood subdivision in Rosenberg, which is, again, now getting pounded once again with another thunderstorm. It has 3.5 feet of water. Water is moving in on the houses in that subdivision, one of the spots there that we're watching very carefully. So as Dominique mentioned, yes, we are starting to get some greens within all the yellows and the reds, which is the best news of all that I've been able to provide in about the last 6 hours here tonight. However, that said, there are still some trouble spots out there, and I want to show you where we're seeing some of those. That includes as you get out just the east of Channelview, south of Mount Bellevue, as you get across 99 and the I-10 there. That's where we're seeing some heavier showers and thunderstorms just north of Beach City. And then as we go back off towards the southwest again. Now we have the flash flood emergency, and as we mentioned, this is the first time that a flash flood emergency has ever been issued for the city of Houston, which is amazing if you think about not only just the tropical storms, but as Frank was mentioning earlier this evening, you know, the number of times that we've seen some additional intense flooding. That's including for areas of southwest Harris County, portions of Fort Bend County till 4:15 in the morning, and that's mainly because the bayous are starting to fail, and that's where we're seeing some of the heaviest impact. Now, let's talk about what's going on out towards Needville as you get into the Rosenberg area and into Fort Bend County. They're under severe thunderstorm warning. That is until 3:15. That does include Beasley, Cummings, for example, Fairchilds, Greatwood areas. We got about 100,000 people or so, and we're starting to see the center of the storm just to the north of Needville. This is what I've been watching here, starting to strengthen up just a bit. My guess is we're not only getting some intense rain with this, but we're probably dropping some hail as well. So if you're watching us out towards Needville, you live just north of downtown, you need to take cover because this is a very, very intense storm that continues to work its way through. So I'm going to cycle through again and give you a wider snapshot of what we're looking at.
To give you an idea of where I am, right down there is Shepherd. All of this is underwater. To help you understand, this is the Buffalo Bayou right now that is up out of the banks. I'll use my flashlight to help try and light me here. There's not a lot of light here, but you can see the roadway is overflowing. Back down here, that's in the direction of Dieter. You can see cars are doing the smart thing. Drivers are turning around as they head to the east towards downtown. Again, that is Shepherd and the Shepherd overpass. In fact, you can see that Sovereign high-rise right back there. All of this is underwater. This goes down. You know, this is flooded before, certainly during Allison. The last time I can remember it flooded this much. You can see there are cars down there in the water under Shepherd Drive. Again, this is Memorial Drive. This is in the direction of downtown. If you're going back in that direction, that would be Memorial Park. A lot of lightning out here as well. But all this water you see here, that is what was Bayou, I should say the Bayou, Buffalo Bayou, that's now up out of its banks. We'll have more. I'm going to head in that direction. I'll let you know what I find out.
And just before he took off in that direction, he's going to join us on the telephone here. Ryan, can you hear me?
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. What you just showed us there on Memorial Drive is what we anticipated would happen because we've seen it before when Buffalo Bayou leaves its banks. It spills over on Memorial Drive on that side and Allen Parkway on the other, and then we have the cars submerged. Is that pretty much what you're seeing?
That's exactly what we're seeing. And, you know, previously in a big rainstorm, you will see it flood there under Shepherd. I haven't seen it flood like this before. And the sad thing is, as I made my way closer to Shepherd, I saw at least 3 cars that were submerged. I found one owner. I do not know where the others are. I truly hope they got out of those cars because the bayou is still coming up. In fact, I was watching a manhole cover where water was simply pouring up out of it. And before long, you couldn't see the manhole cover. So there is more and more water. They're turning people around just past Dietering. I say they. It's whomever stops and turns traffic around on their own because there are no police officers here at this point. But turning drivers around at Dietering, trying to get them headed back in the direction of the West Loop and Memorial Park because you can't go in either direction. Some people thought they were being smart coming to the outbound lanes of Memorial Drive trying to get downtown. That doesn't work, folks. So people are making their way back into the neighborhood. You'll remember back during Allison, there was Bayou on the Bend apartments. It flooded very badly. Those have since been torn down and rebuilt. But I'm looking at the water actually under the new apartments. There above or I should say under the parking garage. It was built this way for a reason, just like you were talking about the Med Center. And the doors there, things changed since Allison. They knew this would flood, so they had built the new property up and out of the water. Yesterday, down thinking the same thing near City Hall. They had built giant doors trying to keep the water out from underneath the City Hall annex. Those doors hopefully are closed at this point. They were not a few hours ago when I took a run through downtown, but a lot of things have changed, as you know, Bill, all too well since Allison. Hopefully they work.
Yeah, hopefully so. And, you know, I was just going to point out real quickly that Ryan is right there by St. Thomas High School, which has finals starting in the morning. This is the final week of school, and finals at schools all over the Houston area. I have a feeling it's going to be a big mess in terms of trying to get those finals taken.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bill. I have seen drivers going over Shepherd, over the overpass. No problem there. You're high and dry. But you get down into that low-lying area. And the amazing thing, again, we see it flood there from time to time. No big deal. It comes up, it goes down in an hour or so, like Bill said. But in this case, this is all the way nearly to Dietering. So flooding like this, we don't see often.
And Ryan, just to let you know, you're about ready to get some more rainfall in that area. There is yet another line of storms. Just hang tight for us. We want to get over to Justin so we can take a look at the radar and see what's coming next.
Let's check with Keith Garvin. Keith, remind us why we live here again.
Wow.
Because it's a good news city, that's why.
I'm only
That's
kidding.
right. That's right, for sure. Yeah, we love this place with all the good and the bad rain. We'll take it without a doubt. Without a doubt. You know, where I was for 4 hours, we were actually able to move about a mile from there. We've moved from the neighborhood I was in to I-10 and 610 interchange. Let me give you a look at the highway here, the freeway here. Across the freeway, you're looking at the eastbound lanes, and that's where they're having most of the trouble at. The westbound lanes are moving just fine. They're not having a problem at all. But if you can see that 18-wheeler there with the lights flashing, that's eastbound, and that car is doing what all the other vehicles pretty much have to do. But when they get past that 18-wheeler, they're having to do a U-turn and drive down the middle of the eastbound lanes heading back west. So driving into inbound traffic, head on and into other traffic, and you know they're navigating it just fine. But you know you can imagine just the types of problems that it could potentially create, and that's because in the HOV lanes, it's like a small stream, a small river of water just filling the road, and then on those eastbound lanes is where you are seeing some traffic getting by. But once they get up, there's a sort of a hill, a little indention there, and that's where the water starts to pool in those eastbound lanes. And then let me show you on the other side, on the off ramps, that's where they are having the most trouble, because if you can make it out, John Reed is going to show you, he's going to zoom in. That right there is the top of a car on one of the off ramps on the eastbound lanes of I-10. It's almost completely covered in water. That's how deep the water is on that other side there. So again, not having any trouble on these westbound lanes whatsoever. It's the eastbound lanes. As you can see, you know, it's almost like, you know, when we have the hurricanes and you have the contra flow of traffic. Well, in this case, they're not all going in the same direction. You're actually having to have vehicles turn around in the middle of traffic and head back in to the other incoming traffic head on because they're having to turn around because there's so much water on the roadways. Again, this is I-10 and 610. Where we are right now, and so again, it's just not a good idea to get out there on the roadways. And the time of morning it is, a lot of these folks maybe people who are headed into work and they don't have a choice but to go. But if you don't have to go into work or you don't have to be anywhere, if it's not an emergency, if it's not medical related, then please, by all means, stay at home because now we've been in this new spot for about 20 or 25 minutes, and the traffic just keeps on building. So if they're gonna continue to have problems, they're just going to grow because you have just more and more people out here getting on the roads. Bill, Dominique?
It's a setup for wrong-way crashes, which is one of the things that we fear most in this area.
And when they turn around,
sure,
I'm wondering where they exit.
Well, that's a wrong-way exit as well.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's another reason not to... Go ahead, Keith.
Bill, we can only assume that law enforcement is at the end of their turnaround and hopefully guiding them on that end. We have seen some law enforcement, on the eastbound end that are causing them and forcing them to turn around, and we can only assume that on the other end they're guiding them out to a proper exit. But from our vantage point, we just don't know that for now, for sure.
And that looks like commercial traffic that's going eastbound, right? That's traffic that normally passes through the city at all hours.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Yeah, the lanes, the backlights that you're seeing, that's actually headed westbound, and the headlights that you're seeing, they are traveling eastbound. And so, a ton of 18-wheelers. I mean, right now I can look and count 6 or 7 big rigs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it is a lot of that commercial traffic as well. But I do see some regular vehicles also. So it's a mix right now, it looks like.
Sure is. Keith, thank you very much from your perspective. You got a nice vantage point there. I guess you'll be staying for a while.
Hi there, Brandon Walker here. You probably maybe a couple minutes ago heard my live report over the phone here from my car on 59 at the West Loop. Now you're looking at what the problem is. In fact, I told you earlier that I couldn't see any water accumulation, but here is where that water backs up here, right under the loop. It is pretty deep, and so as a result, depending on how low-lying your car is, you can't make it through there. I'm actually out of my car right now because I wouldn't be able to make it without stalling out. You see one driver trying to make a go with it. I told you about the traffic being backed up. Here's what we're looking at here at 610. Some people trying to get through, others waiting for that water to recede. I've been stuck in traffic for about 2 hours. The guy here, sir, how long have you been stuck?
2 hours.
About 2 hours, too. Oh, since the Rocket game.
After, yeah.
Wow. So that's what we're looking at here as we approach well into the early morning hours. So I'll continue to document my journey to Channel 2 and bring you more updates from the road.
Cool, man.
That's somebody left the Rockets game and probably would have been better off staying where it was nice and dry. And
at least they won. Imagine how upset he'd be if they didn't.
Not at all. I mean, you're still under a severe thunderstorm warning in that area, and of course, Justin's going to give us an update in just a moment, but it looks like the heaviest portion is actually moving through Sienna Plantation, which is just off to the southeast of the 59 corridor, but I'm not surprised at all to hear that. I mean, at my house, and definitely on my drive to work, when I actually had to stop and turn around from the floodwater, I could feel my car rocking back and forth, so definitely some strong winds, and also you heard him report that they had some small hail in Needville, which is what our radar was picking up on as well.
And take a look at what we're seeing. This is Bobby, one of our photographers. This is right by Channel 2. And I've seen him, it almost looks like he's driving in circles, which tells me that he keeps hitting high water everywhere. And I don't know if he can make his way into the station or not, but the other indication here is the intense rainfall and lightning that continues again along Highway 59.
Yeah, and what you're looking at is that hopefully last punch, moving on through. And it's going to track right into the southern portions of South Houston.
Justin, what do you think? Last punch?
You know what? I hope this is the last punch. We can't take any more punches, let's put it that way. We can't even take any more jabs or body blows at this point because this is a pretty hefty-looking thunderstorm. This is the one that they were just talking about, the one that Britta was just mentioning that she's been watching here. So I've broken down, this is what we're looking at, these sort of two things here. The northern end of this is trying to break off just south of Sugar Land, work its way over towards, let's say, Sienna Plantation, so you just go north of there, okay? Southern half of that is starting to slowly drift mainly just east at this point. It's taken more of sort of almost like a little mini squall line feel to it as it's working its way eastward. So that's going to put places like, let's say, Thompson's, Sienna Plantation, about 325, Arcola, Julep, and then Iowa Colony. Those are all the spots that may be getting hit with this. And as Jeff just mentioned on the phoner there, that winds have been upwards of 40 to 50 miles an hour. Certainly not something. Britta, would you agree? I mean, I'm not shocked by that at all.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it's showing right there.
Yes.
That's where we're seeing some of the core of that thunderstorm is around. So not only do you have the intense lightning, but obviously you've got a very electrically charged atmosphere within that storm cell, Britta, obviously, because if the hailstones are smashing into each other, it's just creating more and more charge, which is probably why we're seing
so much lightning.
Yeah, that intense light show right there.
Exactly. Yeah, it is unbelievable, that's for sure. And another thing that we were discussing earlier is the fact that we're starting to see some hail fall in these areas. That's going to clog up the drains and not help with the drainage system with the flooding issue that we're already seeing. So the hail not only can cause some issues in terms of damage, but it can also cause an issue in terms of draining all this flood. Let's go back to Bill and Dominique. Okay.
Yeah, and unfortunately it is heading for the area that has already been so devastated overnight with 8 to 10 inches of rainfall from Sugar Land up through the Villages area of the west side of Houston and then on up toward the northwest side of the city of Houston. And we have very, very serious flooding going on in the southwest and western portions of Harris County. On Keegan's Bayou, we have record flooding on Keegan's Bayou. Homes are inundated. Homes are taking on water along Keegan's Bayou. We have record to near record flooding on the upper portion of Brays Bayou at Beltway 8. Downstream to Gessner, and I am very concerned that a lot of homes are taking water on right now on Brays Bayou. In addition to that, Willow Watering Hole, which is a tributary of Brays Bayou. On Buffalo Bayou, the bayou is high. It is currently at levels similar to the April of 2009 floods. A lot of people in Buffalo are going to remember that April 2009 flood event, and the water levels in Buffalo right now are very similar to that. For the most part, we are within banks on Buffalo Bayou, west of the 610 Loop. Inside the 610 Loop at Shepherd and all the way downstream to downtown Houston, we are over banks on Buffalo Bayou. On White Oak Bayou, the lower end of White Oak Bayou down at Heights, I-10, I-45, just north of downtown Houston, we are still over banks. We have not had a report from the USGS gauge at Heights, so we are uncertain if that gauge has been damaged. That's a possibility at this point. We are over banks on Halls Bayou at Jensen, which is along US 59. Just recently, we are now going out of banks on Clear Creek at FM 528, and probably all the way down to I-45 on Clear Creek. We're going to have some flooding. Don't think we're going to have structure flooding there, but with that next batch coming in, it's going to really hit that southern part of the county. We are concerned about that, along with Armand Bayou over in the Pasadena area, Big Island Slough. Really, every watershed in Harris County at this point, besides the extreme far northwest part, is experiencing either very high levels or near flooding conditions. We've just had too much rainfall in a short period of time for the drainage systems to handle it.
And not only have we had a lot of rain in a short period of time, we've also, since the beginning of May, saturated the ground.
You need to stay where you're at. We have numerous freeways underwater. We have numerous streets underwater. Even if water is in your home, you are safer in your home than trying to navigate the floodwaters in a vehicle. And we do not want to put a lot of vehicles on the road. We don't want first responders having to go out and pull people out of vehicles. They have enough of an issue right now responding to calls to not add more to it by getting out on the roads and trying to navigate. The flooding is significant and it's widespread. What we've become accustomed to in Harris County recently with our floods is they've been the short type of floods, 3 or 4 inches of rain, the water comes up in the streets and then goes down within an hour. This is going to be different. We have bayous and creeks involved, so the water has to drain out of the bayous and creeks. They have to crest and go down some before the streets will begin to drain, and that is going to take time. And if I had to put an estimate on it at this point, you're looking probably, once the rain stops, a good 3 to 4 hours for the water to start coming down in the channels and then in and out of some of the streets. So definitely that's going to take us into and through most of rush hour. Mm-hmm. Right, and those areas have been hit extremely hard tonight. Hunters Creek Village, Spring Valley, Bunker Hill, Piney Point Village, all of those areas were hit extremely hard back in April of '09. And the majority of that flooding was from the very intense rainfall rates, similar rainfall rates to what we've seen overnight tonight, and the street drainage not being able to handle that rainfall rate. And the water getting into a lot of homes. Upwards of almost 900 homes on Buffalo Bayou were flooded back in April of 2009. And I'm worried, I'm very worried, looking at the numbers we're seeing and the heights now in some of our channels, especially on Brays Bayou, that we are getting flooding in a lot of homes. I would like everybody to remember some of these numbers. We've had upwards of 8 inches of rain in 3 hours, and there is just no drainage system out there that is going to be able to handle this type of rainfall. If you look at what's happened in central Texas this weekend, you know, they had 8 and 10 and 12 inches of rain, and they had record flooding on the Blanco River. You know, we can't build and design drainage capacity to handle the type of rainfall we get here, because we would be having to design up to the 100-year and 500-year rainfalls, and we get that frequently here. And so it's just not feasible for us to be able to build to that design level. I will say, with the processes that have been put into place, especially on Brays Bayou, all the detention basins that's been put on Upper Brays Bayou, that work is saving homes from flooding right now on Brays Bayou.
I would have to agree with you, because it still hasn't crested the Brays Bayou.
It has not crested, but the amount of water that is being stored on the upper end of Brays Bayou is saving many homes along Brays Bayou from flooding right now. The same thing on White Oak Bayou. Tremendous storage and a bypass channel was put in around the Jersey Village area. That likely saved portions of the Jersey Village from flooding tonight. And there'll be time to get into all those numbers after this is over, but the real thing that I want people to focus on is where we have flooding that is going on now. We know we have houses with water in them, and we want people to stay where they're at.
Memorial Drive is down there. You can see it all waterlogged. Everything is underwater. Let me give you an idea of exactly where we are right now. If you see behind me, the lightning is certainly helping. That is Shepherd Drive. In the other direction, back in that way, that is Memorial Drive, looking back towards Memorial Park. What I'm really concerned about, you can see there is the car down there. You can still see the lights. The brake lights are all lit up. There's another car over there as well. I have not been able to see anybody moving in or around there. No one has gone to that car. No one has come out. It is underwater, this one as well as the other one. Most of the smart drivers have been turning around, but there have been very few doing that in the last little bit. Now, this is right down here. That is the overpass at Shepherd Drive. You can see some of the lights there. Hopefully the lightning will help me in just a minute. But that part right there, we've seen that before go underwater. But all this water we see is basically an extension of the Buffalo Bayou at this point. Buffalo Bend apartments are right back there. And it, of course, you can remember that flooded back during Tropical Storm Allison. It's flooded again. And again, water is pouring. If you can look right down here, right down there, that's actually a manhole cover. Water is pouring up out of the earth and into the streets. It's not going to stop anytime soon, as we can see here. My big concern right now is simply those two drivers that we have not seen move, those two cars that are basically immobile at this point. Near Shepherd and Memorial, Ryan Korsgaard, KPRC Channel 2 News.
And we're getting just some heartbreaking messages from some of you who are watching.
I mean, on our Facebook page, unfortunately, I don't think Kimberly's watching us because her lights are out, so most likely she's communicating with me over the phone, and of course I'll reply to her right away. But she's in Spring Branch, and she says, our house is flooded. Are we done with the heavy rain now? Our lights are still out. I need a little bit of info. So of course I'm going to reply to her. More heavy rainfall is heading towards Spring Branch.
Channel 2 News begins right now with a severe weather alert.
Good morning. Today is Tuesday, May the 26th. It's a day we will not forget for a very, very long time. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm Bill Biessa.
Hello, I'm Dominique Soxa. We thank you so much for waking up with us. Channel 2 has been on the air all night long, covering the severe weather that's been passing through our area. Meteorologist Britta Merwin has already been tracking storms and flooding now for several hours. She joins us with the very latest. I don't even know how we call this a forecast. It won't stop.
I mean, at this point, this is what we call nowcasting.
Right.
You're in the thick of it, and you just go by minute because things are changing by the minute.
That's right.
You know, the cluster of thunderstorms that you see now crossing into southeastern portions of Harris County, that is what we thought was going to be the last punch. But somehow we have found enough energy in this atmosphere to have redevelopment. We're seeing storms bubbling up north of Schulenburg. They're tracking off to the north and east. We're also seeing redevelopment down to the south by Bay City and stretching again into Fort Bend County. Now, the hardest hit area overnight into this morning has really been from Aldine into Sugar Land. That's where we have seen 8 to 10 inches of rainfall, with rainfall rates of 8 inches in 3 hours. So this is just unprecedented amount of rainfall. Of course, you have to take into account that we have stacked up almost actually over 16 inches of rainfall in Houston since the beginning of May. So our soil, of course, being so saturated is not helping us out. Now, Justin Stapleton, our other meteorologist who's been tracking this all night, he's zooming into an area where we have been watching. Now, Justin, is there still an active severe thunderstorm warning on this? It was to expire right about now, and it looks like, yes, the National Weather Service has continued that. So, Justin, what's the new timing on that?
All right, new timing on that, Britta. Let's see what we've got. That goes until 4:45. That includes portions of Galveston County, as you mentioned, southeast Harris County and Brazoria County. And right now it looks like obviously it's for that big bullseye that you see right in the center there. I'll show you where we're looking at. This is the one that has been not only dropping some hail, but we've had indications, or at least indications from our computer systems here, that it may have been dropping hail as large as tennis ball or even grapefruit-sized hail. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's been hitting the ground, but you get the idea of just the intensity of this storm cluster as it works its way eastward. Now, we'll put the lightning on this as well. And as Britta mentioned, we haven't had any sunshine in however many hours now at this point, but this storm and these storm systems, these clusters, are driven by the upper-level dynamics, sort of the storm itself versus driven by the heating of the day, which is what we normally see this time of year. You get the afternoon pop-up thunderstorms when it gets real hot in the late afternoon, and that's kind of what we're dealing with. So that's not the case. This is all driven by the dynamics of the severe weather as it continues to push its way through. So I'm going to turn the lightning off here.
At last check, she has been stuck at I-45, very close to downtown Houston, has not been able to move, along with everybody else there on the freeway. Anusha, tell us where you are again and let everybody know what your experience has been like.
Well, good morning, everybody. Bill and Dominique, I have no words. I mean, these storms have been so unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this in my life. We've been pounded by rain. The thunder and lightning just won't quit. The rain is a little lighter now. It was heavier just about 30 minutes ago even, but we've been on I-45 and I-10 for about 4 hours now with everybody else. I mean, there's probably thousands of cars out here. Everybody's waiting. We have made progress, though. We drove up about 100 yards in the last 4 hours, but we're stuck again. People here are just hoping, praying that they can, oh, here goes the rain again, you know, just coming down real hard here. But like you mentioned, if you're just tuning in, we've been working, we've been out in the field since 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday. We started up in Montgomery County, made our way into town, and like you, Bill and Dominique, in this station there, just been keeping everybody informed of what's going on. But at this point, it's almost like, I feel like a broken record. I mean, there's no movement on the freeway, but the feeder road's incredibly dangerous. I do want to mention that we've seen a lot of cars underwater. There's no way for you to get around anywhere, especially on the feeder roads. It's incredibly dangerous. Stay home, like we've been mentioning. Don't leave your house. And at this point, some people here, you know, we've seen people just turn their cars off and go to sleep. There's nothing else to do. And you start to wonder, you know, what happens if you run out of gas? What happens if you have to use the restroom? don't want to give you too much information, but we haven't stopped to take a break at all. So it's been real wild out here, very intense, and we're just trying to stay safe, stay in our satellite truck, and give you updates, pop out and give you updates whenever we can. But at this point, again, we're stuck I-45 and I-10 near downtown, along with all these other folks out here, and people have been frustrated, a little bit angry, but calm for the most part. I mean, they got out of their cars and they were walking around a little bit. We talked to a sheriff's deputy a couple of hours ago, and he mentioned, you know, if you can, stay in your car, because there's really nothing that you can do. I mean, this is Mother Nature, folks. We've been trying our best, but there's no movement. So we'll check back in with you later on, but at this point, here we are, near downtown, I-45 and I-10. Bill, Dominique, back to you.
And that's just one example of what the entire city looks like. If you get out there, you'll be stuck just like these folks, and it's not what you want to do.
Channel 2's Keith Garvin is joining us live now from the west side of town. Keith, at last point, you were right there along I-10 at 610, still in the same place?
Well, just across the roadway, Dominique, Bill, but I tell you, regardless of what side we're on, it is just a complete mess out here. Let me give you an idea of what people are having to deal with if they choose to come outside. Those who have come out and gotten on these roadways, look here at this feeder road. You can see all of this water. If you go to the very bottom of that ramp, may be hard to pick out, but that is the top of a vehicle that is nearly submerged. We had a witness out here who told us that the woman who was behind the wheel, when she came down the ramp, she had no idea that there was any water there. She was very surprised at the last second when she saw it. She hit the brakes, stalled. Thankful, though, good news, she was able to get out, and she is safe and sound. Now, that's the a feeder road there. These next two lanes take you to 610 South, and you see 3 vehicles there on the side of the road stranded. Looks like 2 of them at least were involved in a fender bender. And then you get over to the other lanes, you see the cars moving, that one SUV moving, and then the 18-wheeler very slowly, gingerly moving through, just a ton of water. Those are the eastbound lanes of I-10. And as you can see, those big rigs coming through all of that water. I mean, this is a freeway in Houston, Texas, and it looks like they're driving through a small stream. And then on the other side, the other lanes there, also that's I-10 east. You might be able to make it out. I don't know if you all can see from the camera, but you see all the traffic that's stalled there. And then just as this truck passes by, you can see another vehicle going in the other direction. Well, when we were out here, when you guys came to about an hour ago, we had a lot of those vehicles who were traveling east, and then because there was so much water, they had to actually turn around and do a U-turn in the lanes that they were driving in the eastbound lanes, and head back west directly into other oncoming traffic. And now you can see so many of those other vehicles that are stopped now, because earlier, they were kind of just going back and forth at a regular pace on both sides in both directions. But now, because there's been so much traffic that has accumulated in the last hour and a half or so, that there are far more many cars that just aren't able to make that U-turn and go in the other direction. So gridlock here in this location, again at I-10 and the West Loop, just like so many other parts of the city. You do have some vehicles who are able to move, but boy, it's really, really tight out here. And as you can see, we have cars underwater. About a mile away, we counted at least 6 or 7 vehicles in about a 100-yard radius that were all stuck and stranded. So has been pretty out here. And as you all have mentioned, even once the rain stops, it had picked up a little bit, but in the last 15 minutes or so, we were not getting any more rain. So hopefully that's a good sign. But we're obviously still not in the clear for at least another 5 or 6 hours. Things may still be just as bad. Bill, Dominique?
You're absolutely right about that, Keith. As a matter of fact, Harris County Flood Control is telling us that if it stopped raining right now, it would be 4 to 5 hours before it would be safe to get out of your house and drive somewhere.
Good morning, guys. So I was able to get out of my neighborhood, no problem, 59 and Wesleyan. But just like so many other people, as soon as I hit that 59-610 interchange, I got stuck. So then we backed out, decided to take the 610 flyover. Well, now I'm headed south on 610, tried to get off at Beechnut, tried to get off at Bissonnet. Every side street was flooded. So now I decided the smartest thing probably to do, once you're out, you're out. I'm at the highest point of 610 over Meyerland, now coming up to the Braeswood, South Post Oak area. And let me tell you, it is a lake where the freeway, the 610 loop, dips down there right by the Outback Steakhouse in Meyerland. And I tell you guys, there are so many emergency vehicles out there. It is a parking lot southbound, and it is completely empty northbound.
Now, Rachel, how much traffic are you seeing out there this morning?
So on my side of the freeway, 610 loop, which is the southbound headed toward the 610, or sorry, headed toward the South Post Oak Boulevard exit, we're just we're 5 lanes deep, including the emergency lanes, stuck on this overpass.
So there's a lot of people out there.
There are a lot of people out there. I've noticed in the last, so I've been here since 2:45, probably, 3 o'clock, and I noticed the traffic is definitely building. So a lot of emergency crews down ahead of me. So I don't know if they're working on clearing one lane, possibly, is what I've been hearing from the radio. But even if they clear one lane, once you get into those neighborhoods off 610, they're all flooded back in there.
Right.
So there's really nowhere to go.
No, there's nowhere to go except high and dry on a freeway, assuming that's not impassable. And I think a lot of the people you encountered on the road, Rachel, around 2:45 were the leftovers from the night before, who maybe were leaving a Rockets game or were out and about at a bar to watch the Rockets game and never made it home.
Stopped here just at this one spot. This water is treacherous, and it's got to be like this all over Houston. So that's the scene from here in Midtown on the Montrose Bridge there. And, look, we'll stick here, and hopefully this water will recede at some point soon. But it is a rough go.
Ted, you have said what everyone else is, of course, saying, especially the flood control. Those roadways are backed up. They're not going anywhere. A reason why Jeff Linder from the flood control simply said, we are advising everyone to stay put.
In counties, and the last thing we need is people getting out on the roads and getting themselves trapped in high water. We have 2 major freeways at least shut down with water over the main lanes, I-45 north and I-10 on the west side of downtown and the north side of downtown. We have multiple bayous involved. At the last count, we were at about 12 bayous and creeks in Harris County that were out of their banks. And we're really concerned about the Keegan's Bayou and Upper Braes Bayou watersheds with the potential for structure flooding along those channels and also along portions of Buffalo Bayou that have seen upwards of now approaching 11 inches of rain since about 9 o'clock yesterday evening.
Okay, Jeff, one last question and then we have to go. But are you advising companies then to tell their employees to stay put and not to come in?
What we're advising right now, and to be very clear, is we are advising people to stay where they are.
Okay. All right. So if they're at home, stay at home. If you're at work, stay at work. If you're in the vehicle and can't go anywhere, then you essentially stay there.
Yes.
Okay. Jeff, thank you for your call. We'll speak with you a little bit later on this morning, I'm sure, as we continue to watch the fires blazing out of control, and these are throughout the city as a result of the lightning. Casey Curry standing by again with much more on the weather update. Casey, where do we stand as far as this system moving through?
Well, Art, unfortunately, we've got more rain that is pushing right towards our area as we speak. If we can get you to weather 2, I want to give you an update on the flash flood watch, the flood emergencies, and give you kind of the nuts and bolts, and we'll dive right in with who is still seeing rain out there. The flash flood watch has now been extended until noon today. Probably not a huge surprise given the fact that the ground is saturated and we do still have some rain that is falling. Also want to let you know that in addition to the various flash flood warnings out there, the flash flood emergency across the Houston area and down into Fort Bend County is now extended until 6 o'clock this morning. Plus, we've got this severe thunderstorm warning that has been at least continuing for the next 15 minutes. And it has moved out generally of the areas where the warning is in place. It's now moved out into northern parts of Galveston Bay here and up towards Baytown, but nonetheless remains a pretty strong storm. Here is the flash flood emergency that's in effect for Houston, Missouri City, Pasadena, Sugar Land. Really, we're talking the heart of the Houston area and on the west side of town, and then back down towards Missouri City and Rosenberg. This is an extreme situation. We don't normally see this at all, where you've got flash flood emergencies across the area, but it just highlights what Jeff Linder was just talking about how dangerous these roads are across the area. So we're going to continue to watch not only the heavy rain, but tons of lightning here. This severe cell pushing through the Baytown area will push out towards Monroe City on the other side there at 5:01. So pretty quick moving system. We are also still monitoring rain on the south side of town, and especially, as Jeff was just talking about, Keegan's Bayou that feeds into Bray's Bayou. You can see the bayous on this map. If you kind of look closely, it's these areas in blue. You kind of see the wavy lines. Those are the bayous. We've overlaid them for you so you can see some of the spots where we do have very heavy rain falling. Keegan's Bayou about 2 feet above where it should be, and also continuing to see historic flooding there along Keegan's Bayou that is pushing out into Bray's Bayou. That's why we've got such big flooding problems there. As we look at the Doppler radar estimates about how much rain has fallen for Keegan's Bayou and also Bray's Bayou, you're talking more than 10 inches of rain, so it's probably not a huge shock that we've got the ongoing flooding. White Oak Bayou is also a big problem up here along the north side. That's feeding into the downtown area and creating some of the additional flooding, kind of exacerbating the flooding that we're seeing closer to downtown along 45 and out into the I-10 area because of these bayous now getting overflowed. As we take a little wider view here, you can see that the rainfall rate and the rainfall amounts are impressive. At one point, the rain was coming down at 3 inches per hour across the area. So again, ongoing flooding across the area, as we've told you all morning long. But if you're just waking up with us, do not get out on these roads. We've got folks stranded all over the place. Back to you, Art.
Art, what a rough overnight for Houstonians across the city and what's going to shape up to be a pretty miserable morning. We're here on Hirsch on the northeast side near Barbara Jordan High School. This is a story we're seeing across the city. Water really blanketing the roadway, and I wanted to walk over here to give you an idea of what's kind of unusual, at least from my perspective from being out here, is if you look down, is this water is really rushing as almost it was a river, the water flowing very fast out here. Of course, the rain has lightened up over here, so that's the good news. But if you look at this house right now, in this part of town, on the northeast side of town, this is what we've been seeing. A lot of these houses, the water is coming up to the porch, if not over the steps there, almost to the front door. And if we pan over there, you see that white car right there? A guy named Josh, just a couple of minutes ago, 10, 15 minutes ago, he was trying to make his way home. He tried going through that water, stalled out, realized he can't get past this other street. He tells us he's been trying to get home for going on five and a half hours at this point. Again, this is really a similar story we're seeing across this city. I'll tell you, having driven up this way from the downtown area, roads blanketed in water, people trying to find ways around them, stranded car after stranded car we saw. I mean, I lost count telling you how many cars were just abandoned by their drivers in the roadway. Of course, that creates a potentially dangerous situation for anybody else out there, because in a lot of cases, the lights, the blinking hazard lights, those have stopped working, so they're almost hidden in the darkness this morning. Of course, as you've been mentioning all morning, if you do not need to get on these roadways, do not. We're monitoring the situation out here because if this water keeps rising, we are potentially looking at flooding of homes here. Again, this is an older area, so a lot of these homes are closer to the ground and more susceptible to flooding. We're going to monitor the situation and keep you posted. We are live here in Northeast Houston. Steve Campion, 13 Eyewitness News.
All right, good report. Thanks, Steve. Now on the phone, Harris County Judge Ed Emmett getting an update now from Transcar. Judge, thanks for joining us this morning on the phone. We appreciate it. What is the situation throughout Harris County? Certainly not good.
No, it's certainly not good. As of 3 o'clock this morning, the Harris County Emergency Operations Center went to level 1, which is maximum readiness. We have all kinds of reports of road closures, damage to homes and structures. Just coming over here from my home, which is actually near your station, Bissonnette was completely underwater. We saw hundreds, if not thousands, of cars that are stranded. So, the county, we've already decided to ask county employees to stay home except for first responders and essential personnel. We've canceled today's jury summons, so if you have a summons to come to a county or district court, we've canceled that. Until daylight, I don't think we'll know the extent of this. Right now, we're most worried about upper reaches of Bray's Bayou. out around Gessner, because if it's heavy there, all that water's going to come down Brays Bayou, and it's already full.
Yeah, I mean, we've already witnessed the flooding from Brays Bayou, of course, White Oak Bayou, Buffalo Bayou, even downtown. With all of these areas flooding, and with the roadways as well, 59, I-10, the 610, I-45 shut down, are you advising people just to stay put and not get on the freeways?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say not get on the freeways.
Don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere, because if you've driven out at all this morning, you see just how bad it is. We don't know how fast the water is going to run off.
Right.
Because once the bayous are full, it doesn't have a place to run to, so it may not clear as quickly as we'd like.
All right, Harris County Judge Ed Emmett, thank you for joining us this morning, Judge. We appreciate it as always. Thanks for all your great work over there. I know that you guys are super busy this morning.
We are indeed, but we just need to get the word out.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Okay, quickly here, HISD is delaying the start time by 2 hours. HISD, all HISD schools, 2-hour delay. Also, Huntsville ISD delayed by 2 hours.
Welcome back to Eyewitness News. I'm Tom Abrams here with Samika Knight. Good morning, everyone. We hope you're safe. This is video of an apartment fire sent in by Eyewitness News reporter Pooja Lodia. This is near Energy Park, West Ridge, near Maine. The latest could be from a lightning strike there, a fire at an apartment complex. Casey Curry mentioning the multitude of lightning strikes throughout our area overnight and the problems that this is creating both with electricity and with fires.
Again, this is West Ridge near Maine, of course, near Energy Park, Pooja Lodia there. We do have Ted Oberg, I believe. I know he was trying to make his way into the station. Not sure exactly where he is now, but I believe we have Ted on the phone right now. Is that right, Ted? Can you hear us? He is live, actually, in Southwest Houston, and this is video as Ted is trying to get his live shot together. I believe they're on his phone there. Ted, can you hear us? All right, as Ted prepares his live shot, we're going to check in with Casey right now to see what conditions are looking like as we speak. Casey?
Well, good morning, guys. So we are continuing to see ongoing major flooding out there. If you are just waking up with us this morning and thinking about your day and thinking, oh, I need to get out to work, I need to get out to school, that is not happening for most of you. What we need to tell you is that in addition to this flash flood watch that stays in effect until noon today, we have a major flood warning going on across our area, flash flood emergency across the Houston area. This extends down into Fort Bend County, and that is going to stay in effect until 6 o'clock this morning. Now, I know you're looking at the radar, and it doesn't look so bad, but if you somehow manage to sleep through the overnight hours, you are waking up to 10 to 11 inches of rain for many of you.
And Pooja Lodia is out there right now. Pooja, what can you tell us?
Guys, right now I'm on West Ridge. South Main is that way. Kirby is that way. As you can see, there's quite a lot of flooding out here. We've seen many stranded vehicles. But if you look here over my shoulder where you see all of those lights, we're actually even unable to drive through this water. That's how unsafe it is. But right over there, there is an apartment fire, and I want to show you some video that I shot on my cell phone. Actually, just a couple of moments ago in that video, you can see firefighters hard at work. They do believe that this fire was started due to lightning. We are told that nobody was injured in that fire. But of course, right now, the cleanup is going on. And with all of the water here on the street, obviously, emergency vehicles have had a hard time getting into that complex. Residents are also having a tough morning. But right now, we are hearing no injuries. Reporting live, Pooja Lodia, 13 Eyewitness News.
All right, thank you, Pooja Lodia. We appreciate that report.
We've actually moved over a block since we last saw you about 30 minutes ago. We are in the Meyerland parking lot, and you can see behind me West Loop South. This has sort of become a staging ground for fire truck personnel. We've seen about 4 or 5 fire trucks, water boats, who went off presumably to make rescues. And we want to tell you why. Further down, you may not see it from here, but about half a block away from here, closer to the Beech Nut exit, there are cars stranded on top of the freeway. There's car after car stranded along the shoulder and also just on the main lanes. This freeway, this section of the freeway is currently blocked at this hour because of those stranded cars. We saw sedans, we saw pickup trucks, we even saw 18-wheelers who were just pulled over because of the high water. Now, we tried to get closer in, but fire personnel pushed us back here because the water down there is just so high. We had to pull back over here. Again, we just saw 2 rescue boats leave this area. And I don't know if my photographer can switch over to this side of the screen. You can see an ambulance that is parked on the opposite direction of the freeway. It has the hood up. I'm assuming it is stranded just like many vehicles in the area. We're going to stay on the scene and try to get you more fresh video and possibly get you some video of those rescues. But for now, we want to get an update on the fire we've been telling you about all morning long at the NRG Stadium in that area. For that, we turn to Pooja Lodhia for an update. Pooja, good morning.
Good morning to you, Carla. Now, we are right across from NRG Stadium. I am on Westridge right here. You can see that there is quite a bit of flooding here. We have seen stalled vehicles. Actually, if you go a little bit farther here, you can see things really start to get bad. Now, one of the problems here is that all of this water and all of this flooding has led to issues for emergency vehicles getting through. That's how much water there is out here. I want to show you some video I just shot on my cell phone just actually about 15 minutes ago. You can see what firefighters have been battling for a little while now. They do believe that this fire was started due to lightning. Luckily, right now, there are no injuries reported, and residents were, of course, able to get out. But, of course, this has just been a miserable situation for them. Many of them say that they saw that lightning hit. The building actually shook. Of course, everybody in the surrounding area felt like something was going on.
Welcome back to Channel 2 News today as we continue to show you live footage now across our city and remind you, parents who are joining us wondering if your child is going to school today, we can pretty much assure you that most districts within the area are closed. What we've heard of so far, Alief canceled, HISD, Spring Branch, and Fort Bend ISD.
And we're scrolling all these along the bottom of your screen here just in case you aren't sure about which ones will. We haven't heard from the private schools yet, but I can tell you this, they normally all follow whatever HISD does here in the city.
Start making its way all over town, so I'm sure the images that we're going to see, especially as Sky 2 gets closer to downtown, that's going to be an interesting story to tell when you take a look where Buffalo Bayou runs through downtown and then just north where Anusha is.
That will be much more revealing. I was in this area earlier at 288 in the South Loop. Honestly, that was the only way to get here from where I was coming from the north side of Houston. So, of course, you on the feeder roads and the exit ramps where folks pulled to higher ground. Now their vehicles are left stranded, which the tow trucks are out there to come and tow them along. But this is what we were encountering throughout the night. You get to that point where you realize you have nowhere to go. You abandon your vehicle, try to park it somewhere where hopefully the engine doesn't get flooded, which is why those folks are on the grass.
Mm-hmm. And I can only assume from all the tire tracks that I'm seeing on the grass that either A, as the floodwaters were coming, people were just trying to drive anywhere, to get anywhere, up to Sky 2. Yes, here we go. And oh, here we go. This is Highway 288. Wow. That's unbelievable. That's water over the roadway there. Is it me or does it look like well, the road just looked very uneven. Maybe it was the angle from the chopper, but...
Well, I imagine is that Brays Bayou what we're looking at, McGregor? Is that?
That's what it looks like.
Okay, so that's Brays Bayou.
Yeah.
That's the freeway.
That's unbelievable.
That's the actual freeway in the middle of the screen.
Look at that. And look at Brays Bayou. Look at how it's gone over its banks. Unbelievable. Mm.
And you know, just a little farther south of there, the highway's totally open by the South Loop. So this really illustrates why you don't want to go anywhere, because you just don't know when it's going to.
And that's what Anusha pointed out, where she was positioned. You know, to one side of her, everything was clear, and then to her left, you saw all of the freeway stuck there.
And that's supposed to be a drain.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
So we were looking at 59, the south. I hate to jump around so much, but we have to. We want to go a little farther toward town, 59 and 610. Brandon Walker was in that area where the entire freeway was closed, and he's joining us live to give us an update there. Brandon?
Yeah, and so there has been a lot of progress since we last spoke to you, maybe some 30 minutes ago. Take a look. You can see traffic here, 59 outbound, moving at least along one lane. That was only an ability for big trucks maybe 30 minutes ago, but now most traffic is moving inbound to the city and to downtown, I should say. You can see that traffic is moving as well. Similar story. Now, once you get to the shoulder of the road, you can see where there is still accumulation. And there are also reminders of just how high the water was last night. You can see that car stalled out. It's been there for hours now. I was stuck here beginning at about maybe midnight. I could see that car in the distance, too. It's what, 6:30, 6:40? That car is still there. We spoke about feeder roads throughout our area and how flooded they are, which is part of the problem. Taking a walk this way, you can see in the distance there a feeder road. I'm not sure if you can see, but you can see maybe the roof of a small white sedan or coupe car there in the far distance along a feeder road there here to Southwest Freeway. So that's the problem on feeder roads throughout our area. Many of them are low-lying, and so they dipped down when that water came in. When that rain came in last night, they were simply overburdened by water. Back here live again on 59, again outbound. You can see traffic is moving without much of a problem once cars are able to get from underneath the West Loop. At that point, they are free to go. This is the clearest, though, it's been all night. Many drivers breathing a sigh of relief. A lot of people that we've spoken to told us that, hey, they had been here stuck, stranded 4 or 5 hours waiting for this to happen. A lot of them still trying to get home. But you can see that a lot of people are still waiting to get to where they need to be. That access ramp there onto the Southwest Freeway, those drivers have been there all night, and they are outside of their cars, sitting there, some of them on the guardrails, waiting to get to wherever they need to be, and they've been there for hours. So there's some progress here, at least on 59, both inbound and outbound, but you can see that there is still a lot of work to be done, particularly with some drivers attempting to get here. I'm not quite sure why they're stuck. We're going to go see if we can speak to some of them and figure out how long they've been there and why, since traffic here is moving. Owen and Dominique, that's the story from here.
Brandon, right behind you, isn't that West Park that dips underneath?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Right behind you, isn't that West Park that dips underneath the freeway? Right down there?
Yes, ma'am. And so as you can see, actually, there's and there's a lot of water accumulation here. We're trying to figure out, not quite sure if it runs underneath the freeway at this point, but you can still see nonetheless that there is a lot of water accumulation here. I'm not quite sure how deep that goes. I'm not going to find out either.
It's pretty deep.
You can see that there is a lot of water.
Yeah.
All right, we're back with Sky 2 over 288 on the south side of Houston. We just wanted to show you what used to be a freeway. This particular vehicle submerged up to its top of its doors, to the bottom of its windshield, and that's not the only one.
No.
An SUV right there. This is 288 near McGregor, where Brays Bayou came out of its banks and obviously flooded down onto the freeway.
Sky 2 is zoomed in tightly, but as we get a wider shot, you'll be able to see that the flooding there and the damage is extensive. There are so many vehicles submerged. There are so many people stuck. And it's ironic because you see some areas of the freeway that are completely passable, people moving at posted speeds, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you run into areas like this where the water is so high. Would you look at this image? This is just incredible. Brays Bayou out of its banks, flooding roadways, presumably flooding homes, leaving a lot of drivers stranded, a lot of people calling insurance companies this morning. We have not seen any rescues this morning. One of the big issues overnight is that our emergency responders could not respond because of the high water. They could not get to where they needed to go. So there were a lot of people in need of help, desperately in need of help overnight, who could not be reached. So their situations we don't know at this particular time, but as we start gathering more information, we will try to find people who might have needed help and may still need it at this moment.
Are leading to 610 South, and you know, those are moving okay. You can still see a little bit of water on the roadway, some stalled cars. Move over on the other side to those next set of lanes. That's 610 South, 610 North rather, my apologies. And that traffic is moving really well, and the water that was in the middle of those lanes has pretty much all but disappeared. Traffic there is moving smoothly without any problems whatsoever. Those next set of lanes, if we go over the other side of that other wall, that is I-10 East, and you know, for a long time this morning, we didn't have much movement in those lanes at all. Several hours ago, you had vehicles that were having to do U-turns and drive right back head-on into the other traffic, the oncoming traffic, but they were making their way back and forth in both directions. And then all of a sudden, it kind of stopped. Well, up until about 15 or so minutes ago, those lanes were started moving again, and they were wide open, and they all of a sudden have pretty much stopped. They had stopped for about 5 or 10 minutes. Those vehicles were just sitting there. Now they are moving it very slowly, but we're trying to find out exactly why the movement in those lanes stopped. But overall, some fairly encouraging news because you know, we have some pretty clear skies out here, and again, the water levels have dropped dramatically. You know, especially compared to what they were, you know, overnight in the last, you know, 6-7 hours, and even 2 hours ago.
Yep, and then mechanics, you're right. Sky 2, high above, has been around 288. Looks like we are getting closer to town. Is this 59? It looks like 59. Again, high water. It's especially these areas on our freeways where the freeways dip down. That's where we're seeing problems. For the most part, freeway travel is okay, but any low-lying areas on our freeways, we're seeing high water, and it's essentially bringing traffic to an absolute standstill because nobody can get through this. So these are situations that we'll stay on top of. This is why our city and county personnel are asking you, begging you to please stay home. We already have too many people on the roads as it is, and so right now what they need to do is keep people off the roads, let the waters recede, and let the people who are there make their way home, and of course let these tow trucks and emergency personnel get to the vehicles that are stranded.
Obviously, many schools have indeed closed today, although it was interesting. We just heard from, I'll give you a live look because so much of the video that we've gotten in overnight is under the cover of darkness. But here's a guy kayaking essentially, if not down Allen Parkway. I mean, I think he's on Allen Parkway because that looks like the sidewalk. It's kind of hard to tell because of how we're zoomed in, but this is the area of Montrose and Allen Parkway. So yes, he is indeed on the road with his dog in the kayak.
And you know, there's that dog park there along Allen Parkway, not too far from Montrose, but
about 30 feet deep.
Exactly. There will be no dogs out there today, but it looks like a lot of spectators. This is exactly what I thought we would wake up to this morning when we started seeing the reports and the stories about Buffalo Bayou outside of its banks, especially around Memorial and Shepherd, and we knew early in the wee morning hours that water was already covering Shepherd from Buffalo Bayou. I just knew that this was an image that we were going to wake up to, of Buffalo Bayou essentially taking over Memorial and Allen Parkway here just to the west of downtown Houston. And now here we are in a place where most people drive to work. We have a man in a kayak and a dog assessing the damage from what this thunderstorm continuously did overnight.
Mm-hmm. This is what they call major flooding. I mean, when we look at these graphs, it doesn't get much higher than this.
No. What an unbelievable picture as Sky 2 widens its scope and perspective. Underneath there, the trees that look like tops of broccoli is Montrose. And there's Allen Parkway.
You got Memorial on the other side.
That's right, Memorial underwater. Incredible. We will leave you with this image. We'll be back right after this.